Imagine seeing the stairway and knowing you will not descend it. Before the sun had fully risen, Tenochtitlán was already moving. The causeways filled first. Priests, porters, warriors, neighbors, people who already knew where they were going. People who already knew what waited there. No one was running. No one was shouting yet. That is what stays with me. The calm. At the center stood the Templo Mayor, the religious and political heart of the empire. 2 stairways climbed toward the summit. 2 shrines waited above, one for Tlaloc, one for Huitzilopochtli. It was more than a pyramid. It was where power stopped being an idea and turned into stone. And that morning, all of it narrowed around one man, a captive, not a ruler, not a priest, not someone whose name survived, just a man taken alive in war and brought here for a reason. That mattered. He was not killed on the battlefield. He was kept, prepared, saved for this place, for this morning. It was Panquetzalisli, the great festival of Huitzilopochtli. The night before had already been loud with chants, dances, and processions. Prisoners and slaves were washed in a sacred spring before being led forward. Painal ran through the city at the head of the sequence, carrying the urgency of the god through the streets. That is what makes the whole thing feel wrong in a deeper way. The violence was not hidden. It was organized. It was washed. It was given music. The city saw it, and no one looked away. Around the captive, fear did not come only from the crowd or the height of the stone. It came from the order of it all. This was not frenzy. It was procedure. The priests were not improvising a killing. Fasting had come first. Vigil had come first. Blood had come first. The Florentine Codex tells us the captives were kept awake through the night, and when the moment came, each captor took his prisoner by the hair and led him onward. Imagine that. No sleep, no escape. Just the slow approach of morning, and everyone around you already understanding what the day is for. If even the priests opened their own bodies to offer blood, then the captive had already been reduced to something else. Not a life, not a future, a debt, an offering, a function. When the climb began, the city dropped away beneath him in water, stone, and faces turned upward. Thousands of them. Watching, waiting. The southern half of the temple stood above him now, Huitzilopochtli's side. The altar was there. The summit was there, and below, at the foot of that same side, lay the great monolith of Coyolxauhqui, the goddess torn apart in the myth of the god's birth. That was not decoration. That was instruction. The temple was teaching the crowd how to understand what they were seeing. He was not just climbing stairs. He was being pulled into a story already written long before he arrived. The god rises. The enemy falls, again, and again. Blood and human hearts were not treated there as random cruelty. They were treated as payment, fuel, obligation. What happened on that summit was tied to the idea that the world itself needed feeding. That is the part that still lands hardest. Death was not presented as horror. It was presented as necessity. And once a society convinces its people that death is necessary, it no longer needs to hide it. It puts it at the center, it puts it on the calendar, it turns it into spectacle. Below, near the temple, stood the Zompantli. Nearby were other ritual spaces, including the House of the Eagles. So this was never just one death on one morning. The whole precinct reinforced the same lesson. The priests had their role. The captors had theirs. The crowd had one too. Watch, understand, go home. And that was the true brutality of the day. Not only what happened to one man, but what happened to everyone around him. The city absorbed it. Then it kept going. The temple remained standing. The canals kept reflecting light. The order held. That was the real power of the Templo Mayor. Not simply to kill one man, to convince thousands that war, religion, and government were the same thing, and that the world was supposed to keep turning that way.